want to do, first of all, tell you why I wrote this book, and then give you a sense of what's in it, and what you hopefully would learn if you were to read all of it. And I said all of it because this is truly a science. The air travel system has become so complex, so frustrating, as I'm sure you know, that if you really want to work it well in your advantage and to your benefit, you have to learn the system. And a book of 200 and some pages, of course, doesn't tell every single thing about the system, but I think it does tell the basic things. What happened to me, as Gary mentioned, was all this travel around the world for the last decade. 82 countries, almost 2 million miles, and of course many people do that. I mean, there are people who have flown around the world with Secretaries of State longer than I have. Barish White from the AP flew with everybody since Kissinger. Not Hillary, but until Hillary. But that's not the point. The point was that I worked for a newspaper that didn't have much money. Consequently, there wasn't much money for travel. So I came in 2001 with a very small budget, on which my predecessor had only done 3 to 4 trips a year. And I said, well, how am I supposed to cover diplomacy in the world if I sit in Washington all the time? I was told I couldn't get more money, so what's my alternative? Well, stretch the budget you have. And I decided to learn everything there is to know about airfares. How they're published, when they're published, how they're constructed. What is the way to actually guarantee that I'm paying the absolute lowest fare available and published? I learned it by asking questions. There were no books, nobody was teaching this. I literally learned by doing it and being curious. So within a year, with the same money, I was doing about 10 trips. The other problem was that I didn't want to fly a coach. So what do you do then? You've got this little money, you can only pay the lowest economy fares, but you don't want a city coach. Well, I found the solution in then learning everything about frequent flyer programs, or everything I could. Miles, elite status, upgrades, award tickets, maximizing miles. And so the result is that the last time I flew in coach was in 2002. Now, that includes domestic flights, unless economy was the only carousel plane that region. I have flown in coach on intra-European flights, so between Frankfurt and Munich, for example, I have done that, but domestic and intercontinental flights, I have not flown in economy since 2002. We'll see how long that lasts. So, as I kept traveling, I felt very lucky to be able to do this, of course, on someone else's time, but as some of you know, I grew up in Bulgaria, and I was 15 when the Korean War fell. So, the fact that I could travel freely to any country I wanted, except for North Korea, although I've been to North Korea actually, was amazing to me, and I was just appalled how many Americans don't realize how well they have it. And they don't travel more than they do. And I ask people why, and they tell me on 2 reasons. Too expensive, too much of a hassle. Well, I thought, wait a second. I found a way to minimize, if not eliminate, those 2 barriers for me. Wouldn't people want to learn how to go themselves? So, last year I thought, well, I've done the Secretaries of State for 10 years, let's think of something else. And I thought, well, why not try to advocate what I now call travel education? Because I hear people complain all the time, of course. Oh, the airlines that, the airlines this, and they ruined my trip, I missed my mother's funeral, my grandmother's funeral, they ruined my honeymoon. Well, okay, fine. There's a lot that the airlines are to be blamed for, there's no question. But there are many things that we can do if we are better educated and more sophisticated travelers. So what I will do is run through the contents of the book, give you some examples of what we're talking about when I say savings. It's not $5 or $10, it's not $50 or $60, it's a lot of money. And give you various steps in different fields that I'm not going to read for you. I'm sure you can read them on the screen here, and you can read them in the book. If you have questions, I would ask you if you can hold them until the end, and then I'll be happy to answer them. So we can sort of streamline this. As what the airlines say, the line, policies and all that, they love to use the word align, streamline. One of the things that I believe in is that travel should be exciting and fun. And it has not been that for many people for many years. So I focused my forward to how to be a happy traveler. And it's not that easy. Again, it's a science here. So if my philosophy is that if we want to pay less for travel, if we don't want to be overcharged, because the airlines do that all the time, and if we want more comfort and luxury and less hassle, we have to invest a little or a bit more time and effort in learning it. And so, in this forward, I talk about 10 steps. I'll go through them quickly. And this is pretty much the basis of the book. This is these are the fundamental threads that run through the book in the different parts and chapters. And the first is, I already mentioned the science, learn the science. And that is through accessing raw airline data. Most people don't know what that is or how to actually get that access. But it makes a big difference. We'll talk more about this just in a minute. The second is to actually build your own airfare. All these automated systems that we use all the time, whether it's Expedia or Orbitz or an airline website, they use automated systems to, as I call it, to make the sausage for you. And this is helping you to actually make the sausage for yourself. Don't trust Orbitz or the United website or the American website to give you the best fare. It's automated. It's based on many, many factors, but the truth is, if you know how to go down to the nitty-gritty of publishing fares, booking codes, fare rules, and routing, you can probably construct a fare that is much lower. Now, I should point out that if you need to go from DC to Chicago on Friday and come back on Sunday, you want non-stop, you want 12 o'clock p.m., there's not much room for creativity here. If you want that non-stop on that day, at that hour, on that airline, sorry, you have to deal with whatever they have. But the minute you add one connection, and better even two or more, that's when the big savings will come. How to route it. Does this segment have availability in the booking class I want? How many miles is that going to give me? Can I yield 7,000 miles for going to the West Coast and back on one ticket? The third step here is something that you've read on several blogs, including Gary's, which is, if you don't like something an airline agent tells you on the phone, hang up and call again. I guarantee you, if you ask the same question of 3 agents, they'll give you 3 different answers, most of the time. Who's right, who's wrong? If you know you're right, it makes no sense to argue with them because you're not going to achieve anything, most likely. So don't just hang up, apologize, say that you need to go or something, and call again. But that's been a rule that's helped me quite a bit. The fourth step is very underappreciated and misunderstood. And it can actually save you money. This is when earlier to one of the interviews I talked about these policies and practices have been implemented by the airlines in the last several years, or the last decade or so. Code sharing is one of those. These things have been done by the airlines for a good reason, to maximize revenue. They want to make money. It's a market economy. We've been in a recession. They need to survive, which is fine. But in the process, they've introduced these policies and practices that actually are not only customer friendly, they're harmful to customers if we don't know how to deal with them. And so